The galaxy was quiet, that day trade ships moved along their routes without trouble. The Valorian Empire's patrols reported nothing unusual in the Great Chamber of the High Council. Alien leaders spoke in slow, careful voices about border treaties and fuel tariffs. It was just another calm day in a galaxy that had learned to fear war and avoid it at all costs then. The alarms began to scream. They started in the Valorian Outer Defense Network. A signal flashed. On the monitors of the listening posts stationed near the edge of known space, an object was approaching. It was moving too fast for a drifting asteroid and too controlled for debris. Its engines did not match any known design. The defense officers tried to send the usual hail. The object did not respond. Young sensor officer named Rawl squinted at the readings. The readings were strange. The hull of the object was smooth and dark, with almost no heat signature, no exhaust trails, no energy spikes, no identifying beacon. It looked like a shadow sliding through the void. The message reached the Council in less than a minute. The Chancellor of the Valorian Empire, a tall creature with silver scales, narrowed his eyes. "Show me the image." The hologram flickered into existence, showing the object in the darkness of space. It was shaped like a blade, long, sharp, and heavy-looking, as if made for one purpose. Wartha database began searching for matches. There were none in any alien archives, but in the deep, ancient layers of the Valorian records, a faint red marker appeared. Unknown vessel class, possible human origin. The room fell silent. Humans, the word itself carried weight. Most of the council had never seen one. Some believed they were extinct. Others thought they were too primitive to reach other stars. They were supposed to be stuck on a small blue planet in a distant arm of the galaxy. And yet, here was a ship that looked like nothing else. A ship the old records whispered might belong to them. The object kept coming. It passed through 2 defensive sensor nets without slowing down. Patrol ships moved to intercept, but the object ignored them. Its engines glowed faintly, then dimmed, as if conserving energy for something far more dangerous. The closer it came, the more details appeared on the scanners. The hull was made of a material the sensors could not identify. Its surface bent light in strange ways, making it seem like it faded in and out of reality. In the command chamber of the Outer Defense Station, Rawl whispered to himself, "It is watching us." He did not know why he said it. He had no proof, but the way the ship moved, the way it slowed just slightly near certain listening posts, felt deliberate, as if it was marking them. One by one, the Council demanded the object be stopped before it reached the inner territories. The Valorian fleet was ordered to assemble at the edge of the Solian corridor. A major trade route warships took position, their weapons locked on the incoming shadow. Dozens of species watched through live feeds. Everyone wanted to know what this intruder was and what it wanted. The ship came into visual range. It was massive, larger than any single warship in the Valorian fleet. Its hull bore no markings, no lights, nothing but the faint reflection of distant starlight. It did not respond to the fleet's warnings. It did not slow down then. Warning, it stopped. Every engine reading went flat. The massive blade-shaped vessel drifted in the darkness. Silent and still, the fleet's commanders hesitated. Some thought it was a sign of surrender. Others feared it was preparing to attack. Silence stretched on. Minutes passed. No signals, no movement. Then a faint transmission came through. It was not a voice any alien recognized. It was deeper, heavier. Each word felt like it carried a lifetime of meaning. The language was old Terran English. "This is the human warship, Aegis. We are here with a message." Most of the alien fleet did not understand the words, but the translators worked quickly, and soon the meaning appeared on every display screen. The aliens stared in disbelief. Humans were real. They were here, and they had a warship. The Aegis continued to broadcast, "We will speak to your leaders directly. We will not repeat ourselves. Do not attempt to board or scan this vessel. We are not your enemy unless you make us one." Panic rippled through the fleet. The alien commanders debated whether to fire. Some feared letting the ship pass. Others feared provoking it. In the council chamber, the Chancellor leaned forward. He could feel it in his bones. This was not just a ship wandering into their space. It had come here for a reason that might change everything. The Aegis began moving again, but this time, it was not heading toward the trade routes. It turned toward a dead system at the edge of the galaxy, a system everyone avoided, a place where no light seemed to linger. The Orion Rift. The rift was a region of space known for swallowing ships whole. Gravity storms twisted the laws of physics there. Even the most advanced vessels never returned. And yet the human warship was heading there, as if it had a destination in mind. The alien fleet followed at a distance, I'm sure if they were escorting the vessel or being led into a trap in the silent darkness. The Aegis moved like a predator that feared nothing. The watching galaxies held their breath for the first time in centuries. No one could guess what would happen next. The shadow ship entered the rift, and the galaxy's calm was gone forever. The alien fleet kept its distance as the human warship disappeared deeper into the rift. Every captain in that formation felt the same cold fear. No one came to the Orion Rift willingly. Stories spoke of ships vanishing without a single distress call. Even automated probes sent only garbled signals before going dark, and yet the Aegis moved forward as if it knew the win. The grand chamber of the Valorian High Council. Tension pressed on every mind. Representatives from over a dozen star nations sat in the circle. Their eyes fixed on the main display. The image of the human ship filled the room. Dark against the swirling violet storms of the rift, the Chancellor of the Valorian Empire slammed his clawed hand onto the table. "This is madness," he said. "We cannot allow that thing to roam freely in our territory. Destroy it now, before it reaches its destination." The representative of the Solari Pact leaned back in his chair. His voice was low, but carried across the chamber. "We do not know what they want. If we attack and fail, we risk open war with a species we know nothing about." The Chancellor bared his teeth. "They have already crossed our borders without permission. They have ignored our commands. What more proof do you need of their hostility?" An older, pale-skinned envoy from the Alliance of Free Worlds raised a trembling finger. "If those records are true, and they really are human, then perhaps we should listen. If they survived the rift once before, they might have knowledge we have lost." The room erupted into argument. Some demanded the warship be destroyed immediately. Others feared that firing on it would bring retaliation. None of them could survive. The Valorian Chancellor called for silence. He fixed his gaze on the holidays play. The human ship had stopped again. This time, near the mouth of the rift, its position seemed deliberate, as if it was waiting for something on the bridge of the Aegis. Captain Elias Ward stood in the dim light. His crew worked in silence. Eyes on their stations, they were outnumbered, surrounded, in deep and hostile space, but Ward's expression was calm. He had expected this reaction from the aliens. He also knew they would follow him into the rift, because they couldn't risk letting him vanish without knowing why he came. He turned to his communications officer, broadcast the coordinates. "Make sure every listening station in the sector hears them." The officer hesitated. "Sir, that will alert the entire galaxy to our course." Ward's eyes narrowed. Good moments later, the coordinates appeared on every alien fleet's tactical maps. It pointed to a dead star system inside the rift, a place with no habitable worlds. No stations, and no recorded history, at least. No recorded history. Anyone in the galaxy had access to the alien commanders in the rift's shadow, exchanged tense messages. Some believed the humans were bluffing, using the mysterious coordinates to buy time. Others thought they might be hiding a fleet inside the rift. The truth was stranger than either guessed. The Aegis began moving again, its engines glowing faintly in the rift's darkness. The alien fleet followed at a cautious distance, their sensors struggling to function through the swirling energy storms. The rift distorted light and gravity, making ships appear to warp and bend like reflections in water. A Valorian scout ship drifted too close to a storm vortex and vanished without a trace. No distress call, no debris, nothing. The fleet tightened formation, and the Council's live feed. One of the smaller alien leaders whispered what everyone feared. What if the rift is not what we think it is? What if it's not a danger to humans at all? Black aboard the Aegis. Ward stood at the forward viewport, watching the rift's storms part ahead of them. The path they followed was narrow and precise. Every turn matched data stored in the ship's ancient navigation banks, data no alien had seen in over 1,000 years. Ward spoke quietly, almost to himself. We're almost the Rand in the darkness beyond the rift's storms. Something vast was waiting. The rift swallowed them whole. Every star outside its boundary vanished behind a curtain of swirling violet and black gravity waves. rippled through space like slow-moving tides, pulling at holes and rattling bulkheads, even the most seasoned alien. Captains felt their hearts tighten in their chests. The rift was not empty. It was alive in a way no one could explain. The alien fleet followed the Aegis deeper. Their formations stretched and warped by the strange currents their sensors flickered, sometimes showing dozens of ghost contacts that vanished seconds later every few minutes. A pulse of static swept through the void, killing all comes for a heartbeat. Ships held position, afraid to drift into unseen pockets of twisted gravity on the bridge of the Aegis. Captain Elias Ward studied the path ahead. The rift storms opened just enough for a narrow passage to appear. A corridor that seemed to shift and shimmer. Ward knew it well every turn. Every sharp dive was carved into the ship's navigation long. Before he was borne behind them, the Valorian flagship tried another hail human vessel. State your intentions immediately, or you will be fired upon. The message came through cracked and broken by the rift's interference, but the meaning was clear. Ward didn't answer. Instead, he ordered the crew to prepare deep scan protocols. They were close now. Through the haze, the first shape appeared. It was massive, larger than any living fleet vessel, its hull shattered in places but still intact enough to show its design. It drifted slowly in the currents of the rift. Like a dead whale carried by deep ocean tides, the alien ships gasped in private comms channels when they saw it, a dreadnought, ancient but unmistakably alien. Its style matched no known navy. Its hull markings faded beyond recognition, and yet there was something about its structure that felt wrong. The Aegis slowed to a crawl, circling the derelict at a safe distance. Ward's eyes narrowed. He had expected wreckage. But not this one. This wasn't just an old ship lost to the rift. It was a grave marker inside the Valorian flagship. The fleet commander ordered a scan. The data came back broken and incomplete. But one thing stood out. A strange symbol burned faintly into the derelict's surface. Not carved or painted, burned into the metal itself. It was simple, sharp, and ancient. The humans recognized it immediately. Ward's voice was low when he spoke. Mark 11:1 of ours. That single sentence shook every alien who heard it. If the wreck was human in origin, it meant humans had been in the rift long before any of their species knew how to cross it. It meant the old stories of humanity's disappearance might not have been myths at all. The Aegis moved on, leaving the derelict to drift in silence. Its path cut deeper into the rift, toward the dead system. From the coordinates, the alien fleet followed. Though with growing unease, some ships hung back farther and farther, their captains unwilling to risk whatever lay ahead. Others pushed forward, desperate to know the truth. The truthers passed in the distorted currents. Before the storms broke ahead lay a star system with a dark, dead sun and 5 shattered planets. Each world was split apart, fragments drifting like broken teeth around the dying star. The scans picked up no signs of life, no energy readings, only the quiet echo of something that had once been here, and something powerful enough to destroy it completely. Ward stood at the viewport, his reflection pale in the glass. "We're here," he said quietly, and then he gave the order, "Open a channel to the alien fleet." What came next would be the first words spoken by a human to the galaxy in over 1,000 years. The rift storms faded behind them, leaving only the cold stillness of the dead system. The Aegis hovered above, the shattered remains of a once living world, its hull a silent shadow against the broken light of the dying sun. The alien fleet spread out at a cautious distance, their ships forming a half circle like predators, unsure if they were hunting or being hunted. For a long moment, nothing happened. No transmissions, no movement, only the soft hum of engines and the faint hiss of static over the comms. Then, without warning, the Aegis broadcast a signal across every channel. The voice that filled the alien ships was deep, steady, and human. "You have been trespassing in our graveyard." The words cut through the static like a blade. Some aliens didn't understand the language, but the translators worked fast. The meaning hit them harder than they expected. Our graveyard, it implied ownership, it implied history, and it implied that this place, the destroyed planets, the dead sun, belonged to humanity. This system was once the heart of the Orion defense line. The voice continued, 1,000 years ago, we fought a war here you do not remember. We buried our dead here. We swore this place would remain untouched, but you came anyway on the Valorian flagship. The Chancellor's claws tapped the armrest in a slow, nervous rhythm. His advisors exchanged uneasy glances. The alien council chambers across the galaxy were silent. No one had expected the humans to speak with such certainty, such authority. They weren't asking for recognition, they were stating facts. The Aegis's transmission didn't stop there in the centuries since our retreat. We have watched you, we have seen your fleets strip worlds bare, your council's trade, in weapons that should never have been built, and now you have taken what is ours. The image feed shifted. The Aegis transmitted a rotating hologram of an object, a black sphere. Smooth and featureless, pulsing faintly with light, it was unmistakable. To those who knew the deepest archives, the relic returned. The human voice said, or we will come for it ourselves. Silence followed. Even the rift seemed to hold its breath. The alien commanders exchanged rapid-fire encrypted messages. Some wanted to hand over the relic immediately. Others argued that the humans could not be trusted. Still others whispered about studying it, first unlocking its secrets before surrendering. Yet Captain Elias Ward stood on the Aegis's bridge, arms crossed behind his back, watching the alien fleet shift nervously. He knew they would argue. He knew they would hesitate. That was fine. It would give them time to fear what humanity might do next. Without another word, the Aegis cut its transmission and turned deeper into the dead system. As if it had no concern for the armada watching it, the alien fleet didn't fire, not yet in the council chambers light years away. The debates erupted into chaos, but beneath all the shouting and fear, one truth began to take root in every leader's mind. Humanity had not returned to ask permission, they had returned to make demands. Council chamber was in uproar. The holographic image of the black sphere still hovered over the center table, its faint pulse reflecting off the polished walls. Every delegate spoke at once, their voices a chaotic mix of fear, denial, and greed. The Valorian Chancellor finally silenced the room with a deep, rumbling growl. Retrieve it, he ordered. New in the depths of the Valorian Imperial vaults, teams of armed guards and technicians moved through long, dim corridors carved into the rock of a fortified moon layer. After a layer of security was unlocked, gene-coded locks, thermal scans, psychic resonance barriers. The further they went, the colder the air felt, not from temperature, but from the sense that something inside was. Awake at last, they reached a chamber of black stone. In the center, on a pedestal of reinforced alloy, rested the relic. It looked small compared to the protection around it, a perfect sphere, dark as the void, faintly glowing with a heartbeat-like rhythm. The lead technician swallowed hard and stepped forward as soon as his gloved hands touched the sphere. The glow intensified, like the object knew it had been disturbed. Back in the council chamber, the sphere's removal triggered a silent alarm within the Aegis's systems on the bridge. Captain Elias Ward turned toward his comms officer. They've moved it. His voice was quiet, but every crew member could feel the weight in it. They knew this was the point where patience would end if the aliens made the wrong choice in the vault. The technician hesitated before placing the relic inside a containment field. It was heavier than expected, and there was a faint vibration under his fingertips, almost like a hum too low to hear. The security chief overseeing the operation narrowed her eyes. Get it to the council. Do not delay. The relic's journey through the Valorian capital was conducted in absolute secrecy, but rumors spread quickly through the palace corridors. Some said it was a human weapon, others claimed it was a living thing. One guard swore he saw symbols flash across its surface. Symbols no alien language could match. When the relic arrived in the council chamber, the air felt different, thicker, heavier. The Chancellor dismissed most of the aides and ordered only the highest ranking delegates to remain. They gathered around the containment case, staring at the sphere as if it might leap out at them. One of the older delegates, an archivist from the Morith Union, stepped forward. He activated a handheld scanner. The results made his scaled skin pale to a dull gray. This is not alien technology, he said. It's human, older than our empires, older than the Rift War itself. The murmurs began again. Softer this time, like whispers in a tomb. The archivist continued, his voice shaking. It contains information weapon. Designs, star charts, military records from a time before any of us existed. If they get this back, they could rebuild everything they once had, and more. Across the galaxy on the bridge of the Aegis, Ward received the intercepted transmission from the Council's private discussion. A faint, humorless smile touched his lips. They finally understand the Council now faced a decision: return the relic, as demanded, or keep it and risk whatever the humans would do in response. Ward was willing to give them a little more time to choose, but only a little. In the Council chamber, the air was thick with fear and ambition. The relic sat in its containment case at the center of the table, its faint pulse casting shadows across the delegates' faces. Some saw it as a curse, something too dangerous to exist. Others saw it as the greatest prize in galactic history. The Chancellor spoke first. "We will return it," he said flatly. "We have no choice." But not everyone agreed. In the private communication rooms beneath the chamber, encrypted channels flared to life. Fleet commanders and political leaders from rival species whispered in secrecy, "Why give it back?" One asked, "We could copy it first, study it, build our own version before they even know." Another voice, sharper and colder, replied, "We keep it, and we remove the humans before they can act." The plan began to take shape. They would pretend to negotiate with the Aegis, arranging a formal return of the relic in neutral space. But during the exchange, hidden fleets would strike from the rift's shadows. The human warship would be trapped between two forces, with no escape back, aboard the Aegis. Captain Elias Ward stood in the quiet of the observation deck. Watching the broken planets drift around the dead sun, he knew the alien council was stalling. He could feel the delay in their every message, the way they avoided giving a firm time for the meeting. His instincts told him they were planning something on the Valorian flagship. Admiral Korv of the 7th Fleet received his sealed orders. He was to lead the strike from the front, engaging the Aegis directly. Meanwhile, 2 cloaked squadrons would emerge from the rift behind the human vessel, cutting off all retreat corps. Crew felt the tension but obeyed without question. They had been told the humans were dangerous, too dangerous to be left alive in the Aegis's strategy room. The AI voice known as Sentinel spoke from the walls. "Captain, multiple encrypted bursts are being exchanged between fleets. Pattern suggests a coordinated attack formation." Ward didn't blink. "Show me their positions." Holographic icons lit up across the map, revealing enemy fleets moving into place. They thought they were being clever. They thought the rift would hide them. But Sentinel had already mapped their routes before they even entered. Position. Ward gave a single, quiet order: prepare for battle. When the day of the so-called relic exchange arrived, the meeting point was a small, dim star just outside the rift. The alien fleets arrived first, their ships forming a ring around the agreed coordinates. To anyone watching, it looked like a protective escort for a diplomatic meeting, but hidden just beyond sensor range. The ambush fleets waited. The Aegis arrived alone, gliding into the center of the formation without fear. Ward's voice came over the open channel. "Let's make this quick," the Chancellor's voice replied, heavy with false diplomacy. "Of course, we are prepared to return what is yours." But Ward didn't answer right away. Instead, he stared at the tactical display. The hidden fleets had begun to move in, and then, without warning, the trap was sprung. Ships burst from the rift behind the Aegis, their weapons charging the fleets ahead, lit up their targeting systems. Dozens of cruisers, destroyers, and carriers closed in from all sides. The human warship was surrounded on the Council's private channel. One delegate whispered the thought none dared say aloud: "If we fail to destroy them here, we may never get another chance." Ward's reply was a cold, steady voice that cut through every channel at once. "You should have given it back when you had the chance." Then, the Aegis's weapons came alive. The first volley from the Aegis tore through the darkness like a silent storm. No bright plasma arcs, no roaring missile trails, just flashes of light as alien ships exploded without warning whatever weapons the humans were using. They moved faster than most sensors could track. One moment, a cruiser was in formation. The next, it was nothing but drifting debris. The ambush fleets pressed forward anyway. Dozens of ships unleashed a barrage of plasma and railfire, their shots converging on the Aegis's position. But the human warship was no longer there. It had vanished from every sensor. Panic spread through the alien. Some captains thought it had cloaked Others feared it had slipped into another dimension entirely then. Without warning, the Aegis reappeared behind the rear fleet. In perfect firing position, its guns lit the void again, shredding ships before they could even turn to face I-10. The Valorian flagship Admiral Korv barked orders to regroup. He'd been in war before. But nothing like this. The humans weren't just faster. They knew exactly where each ship would move before it happened. It was as if the battle was being played out on a map they'd memorized long ago on the Aegis's bridge. The AI Sentinel spoke in its calm, mechanical tone. Phase displacement complete, targets neutralized. 38% Ward gave a short nod. Continue the pattern. The alien fleets tried to adapt, spreading out to prevent the Aegis from flanking them all at once, but every new formation they attempted was countered before it even took shape. Alien commanders began calling for retreat over secure channels, but the orders came too late then. Came the weapon no one expected from the underside of the Aegis. A long, dark shape detached and unfolded into the void. It was silent, featureless, and unnervingly stillant, till it ignited in a pulse of white light. A single beam swept across the battlefield. It didn't explode ships. It erased them. One moment they existed. The next they were gone, as if they'd never been built at all. Valorian flagship's bridge fell silent as entire wings of their fleet simply ceased to be even. The wreckage vanished, leaving nothing behind. Admiral Corvy's voice cracked over the cum. "What is that weapon?" No one answered within minutes. The battlefield was empty, except for drifting fragments of the bravest ships that had tried to close the distance. The survivors powered down weapons and cut engines. Unwilling to draw the Aegis's attention, every captain knew that if the humans wanted them gone, there was no escape. Then the human warship broadcast one final message. "To every corner of the galaxy, you have had your warning. Next time, we do not talk unjust like that." The Aegis vanished again. No warp flash, no hyperspace trail, only the cold silence of space where it had been when the cums finally cleared. The alien council leaders stared at each other across their encrypted channels. Every one of them was thinking the same thing. If humanity had weapons like that 1,000 years ago, what else were they hiding? For 3 years after the battle, the Aegis was gone. No sightings, no transmissions, no sensor echoes in the rift or beyond. It was as if the human warship had slipped out of reality altogether. The galaxy lived in uneasy silence. Trade resumed, borders shifted, but every fleet commander, every council member, carried the same quiet fear. The humans had not been defeated. They had simply chosen to leave. Some governments began quietly building new weapons in secret. Others doubled their defenses around key worlds, and a few those who had been closest to the battle whispered warnings to anyone who would listen. The humans would be back then. One day it happened in the deepest layers of the Valorian listening network. A faint, strange energy surge appeared near the galactic core. It was unlike any warp signature ever recorded. Pure, stable, and impossibly strong. Stations across half the galaxy detected the same signal, each one relaying it in growing panic to their leaders at the core. Space itself began to ripple. A storm of light unfolded, and from it emerged the Aegis, only it was no longer alone behind. It came shapes so massive they blotted out the starfield. Dozens of warships, all of them carrying the same dark, predatory design as the Aegis, but larger, sleeker, and bristling with weapons no alien sensor could identify, and flanking them were vessels that were not human at all. Strange angler ships with glowing crystalline hulls and wings of shifting metal allies from somewhere beyond the rift. The Aegis took point, leading the armada forward in a slow, deliberate formation. Its broadcast reached every world, every station, every ship in the galaxy. The voice was still human, still steady, but now it carried the weight of an empire. "Prepare yourselves, the real war is coming." Then the transmission ended. The armada turned, not toward any one system, but toward the galactic heart itself and the galaxy. For the first time in 1,000 years, understood the truth. The humans hadn't returned for revenge. They had returned for conquest. Somewhere in the council chambers, far from the core, an old archivist whispered to himself, "We were never ready for them."